Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I will be talking about why I have not bought shares of Nikola stock and why I have no plans of buying shares in the future, and why I think there are some serious concerns with Nikola that every investor should be aware of. So if you currently own shares of Nikola stock or are thinking of buying shares soon, you need to watch this video all the way to the end. Now, I did release a video on Nikola stock a couple of weeks ago where I did more of a general overview of the stock. And my conclusion in that video was that Nikola was too risky to buy until they could actually start selling their semi-trucks. But in this video, I will explain why I think it is highly unlikely that Nikola will ever manufacture their vehicles and why you should probably sell Nikola stock ASAP. Now, I am not a financial advisor, and the views expressed in this video are my own thoughts and opinions. But I am not the only one who is growing increasingly skeptical of Nikola. A lot of people have been calling them a scam and calling Trevor Milton a con artist altogether. And apparently the negativity towards Nikola has been so severe that Milton tweeted out the hashtag spread love, not hate, to try and calm down the haters. And while I can't definitively prove any fraud on Nikola's part at this point, I believe a healthy dose of skepticism towards Nikola is warranted. For example, it wasn't too long ago that we saw Elizabeth Holmes, who founded Theranos, raise billions of dollars in investor money, just to find out that her company and the technology they were developing was all a lie. But that is an extreme case, and I don't want to accuse Nikola of intentionally deceiving investors quite yet. Because while we can debate all day whether Milton is telling the truth or not, only time will tell whether or not Nikola is legit. So obviously, investors right now in the company have no choice but to trust Milton, just like early investors in Tesla had to trust Elon Musk. And like I just said, over time it will become clear whether or not Nikola is a scam or the real deal. But if I had to predict the fate of Nikola, I would say at some point they will run into money problems, start laying off employees, and then eventually declare bankruptcy. This is similar to the fate of Faraday Future, if anyone remembers them. And if you don't know about Faraday Future, you should go and research them because it's a very interesting story. But Trevor Milton makes it really hard to know whether or not he is a con artist. I mean, on the one hand, Nikola has bought land to build a factory and has signed a purchase agreement for $30 million worth of electrolyzers. But a part of me feels like this is just smoke and mirrors, because he is not being super aggressive about anything. Elon Musk, in the 10 years he has been at Tesla, has a huge list of accomplishments, including manufacturing the Tesla Roadster, Model S, Model X, Model 3, 4 massive manufacturing plants, and is already expanding into China. Whereas Nikola was founded in 2014 and doesn't even have a factory yet. Which brings me to my first point. I don't think Nikola has the right management, and I don't think Trevor Milton is a visionary. Cathie Woods, the CEO of ARK investment firm, notes that Nikola's management team comes from the old world of steel, aluminum, and natural gas. Which doesn't mean that they are not a good management team, it just means that they most likely won't be able to turn Nikola into the innovative, technology-driven company that Tesla has become. And while Elon Musk has had the same vision from the very start with Tesla, it seems like Nikola doesn't really have a concrete plan. Originally, the Nikola 1 was supposed to be powered by natural gas, with Milton promising 100,000 gallons of free natural gas for the first 5,000 reservation holders. Nikola suddenly announced only 5 months later that they would be ditching their natural gas semi-trucks and instead going with hydrogen. And at the time, they promised they would build 50 hydrogen fueling stations in the US by 2020. So this is a company that I don't think is driven by a clear vision, and Trevor Milton seems to just be making it up as he goes. Whereas Elon Musk is a visionary who has had a very clear master plan for Tesla from the very beginning. Milton also has a history of taking reservations for products that don't even exist yet. Take a look at this rendering of an all-electric off-road UTV that Nikola created back in 2016. They started taking reservations for this UTV despite only having the renderings. And now 4 years later, all they have to show for it is a working prototype. Meanwhile, Tesla announced the Model 3 also in 2016, and 4 years later has manufactured and sold hundreds of thousands of them. So this is not a good sign for Nikola. And in order to transform the transportation industry like Tesla has over the past 10 years, you need to be very committed to your plan and execute it aggressively. But it seems like with Nikola that they either don't care or they lack the passion to make their vision a reality. And instead of focusing on execution, Nikola seems more interested in releasing renderings of new products such as the Nikola Badger, which in my opinion serves to hype up the stock and distract people from the fact that the company really isn't doing much to make their grand plan of a hydrogen future become a reality. But the other problem that Nikola faces is limitations with their technology. And this problem will become very evident when the company is faced with competition from the likes of Tesla. The most notable limitation with Nikola's vehicles is that they run on hydrogen. And in order for Nikola's vehicles to compete against Tesla's battery electric vehicles over the long run, the cost of hydrogen needs to be the same as the cost of electricity, which is literally impossible. And the reality is that hydrogen will always be much more expensive than electricity. This is because isolating hydrogen is a notoriously inefficient process. In fact, if we exclude the losses from transporting, storing, and distributing the hydrogen, we would still have a 30% energy loss just to get the hydrogen. And the losses only get worse if the hydrogen has to be transported to the filling stations, which puts Nikola at a huge disadvantage compared to Tesla. The next challenge I want to talk about is an obvious one. In order for Nikola to sell any vehicles, they need to build a lot of hydrogen fueling stations, which is a significant investment. Tesla ran into this problem early on, but has been able to build over 900 supercharger stations in the US alone in only 8 years. In fact, there are currently enough electric charging stations throughout the US to make long-distance travel possible, which has allowed Tesla to already drive many of their semi-trucks all over the US. This is because a supercharger station is fairly simple to build and requires minimal cost. But for Nikola, the estimated cost for their fueling stations is 5 to 10 times greater than a supercharger station. That is a huge difference and is one of the main reasons that there are only 39 hydrogen fueling stations in the US. Also, since the energy requirements for producing hydrogen are so high, that means that Nikola won't be able to rely 100% on renewable energy sources, which kind of defeats the point of having clean hydrogen. I mean, why does it matter that your vehicles only produce water vapor if you are burning twice the amount of coal to get the hydrogen? Again, it seems more like a creative marketing ploy rather than a legitimate solution. But if you thought things couldn't get any worse for Nikola, don't worry, or well, do worry, because there's more bad news. The increased cost to produce hydrogen will need to be passed on to the consumer, which means that the cost to operate Nikola's semis will be a lot more than the cost to operate Tesla's battery electric ones. Now, Trevor Milton knows this, and that's why he is focusing on only the advantages of hydrogen vehicles, and that is performance. Right now, hydrogen-powered vehicles have longer ranges and quicker fill-up times than battery electric vehicles do, but still cost less to operate than diesel semi-trucks. This leads people to assume that hydrogen semis will be the preferred solution to the trucking industry's problems. But when we actually look at the numbers, we realize that Tesla semis will not just be a little cheaper to operate, but a lot cheaper to operate than hydrogen semis will. In fact, ARK investment firm did research and found that the cost of the hydrogen fuel for Nikola semis would be 3 times more expensive than the electricity used to power a battery electric semi. What this means is that over 700,000 miles, the cost to power a Nikola semi would be roughly $230,000, compared to only $73,000 for the Tesla semi. For comparison's sake, the cost to fuel a diesel truck that gets on average 6.5 miles per gallon will cost around $260,000 over the same 700,000 miles, if we assume a cost per gallon of $2.41. So at the end of the day, what all of this means is that Nikola is at risk of being obsolete once battery technology improves. Think about it. Batteries are improving at a rate of roughly 5 to 8% per year, which is exponential growth. So as battery technology improves, the performance differences between battery electric and hydrogen electric will decrease. And since battery electric vehicles are already much cheaper to operate, it is only a matter of time before Nikola's technology is obsolete, which at that point they will need to transition away from hydrogen to battery electric anyways. And all of that money they will have spent building out their hydrogen fueling stations will go to waste. But right now, for commercial applications, there are a lot of performance benefits that give hydrogen an advantage over battery electric. So if a long-haul trucking company was forced to choose between hydrogen or battery electric semis, they would probably have to go with hydrogen semis as the technology currently exists today. But currently, Nikola isn't manufacturing its hydrogen semis anyways. And even if they were, they would have to wait until they built enough hydrogen fueling stations to support those semis. And with plans to start manufacturing their semis all the way out in 2023, I just don't know if they are going to be able to get their vehicles to market fast enough to really even be competitive. And honestly, by the time 2023 or 2024 rolls around, Nikola will probably decide to scrap their hydrogen semi altogether and instead switch to all battery electric, all without ever manufacturing a single hydrogen semi-truck to begin with. Overall, I think Nikola has a toxic combination of the wrong leadership and inferior technology that makes them a very risky investment and honestly doesn't really leave much room for potential reward. And it makes me very doubtful that they will ever be the next trillion-dollar tech company that is capable of revolutionizing the transportation industry. But I am curious to hear your opinion, so drop a comment below and let me know what you think about Nikola stock. And remember to hashtag spread love not hate when you are commenting. And if you want to discover more EV stocks, you can click one of these videos on the screen to watch some of the videos I've done about other EV stocks that I think are good investment opportunities right now. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do that. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.